Imagine your mind as a ship on stormy seas, one moment calm, the next, tossed by anger, anxiety, or sadness. When emotions take over, we lose control, feeling powerless and adrift. But what if you could calm the storm, not by suppressing feelings, but by understanding them? Mastering your emotions means becoming the steady captain, not a helpless passenger. This is your greatest superpower, the ability to choose your response no matter the weather. Picture facing challenges with clarity, not impulsive anger or fear. You become the observer, seeing emotions rise, acknowledging them, and acting with intention. This is true freedom, steering your life toward peace and purpose, not being dragged by the currents. Emotional mastery shapes your relationships, your work, and your well-being. Anyone can learn this skill. It starts with the intention to understand yourself and take back the wheel. We chase happiness by trying to control everything: jobs, relationships, even others' opinions. But life never follows our script, and the more we try to control, the more stressed we feel. The world is unpredictable, and our efforts to manage every detail only create tension. We're bombarded by information and pressure to do more, leaving us in a constant state of fight or flight. We forget how to be still, always reacting, never at peace. The real problem isn't life's difficulty, but our approach, seeking security outside instead of within. True control lies in mastering our own mind and responses. When we shift focus inward, everything changes. Inner peace isn't about controlling the world, but understanding ourselves. That's the key to lasting calm. What if peace came from within, not from controlling the world? Ancient wisdom, especially Buddhism, teaches us to find calm by changing our relationship with our minds. You don't need to be a monk, just integrate these practices into daily life. Imagine your mind as a sky, with thoughts and emotions as passing clouds. Instead of identifying with every cloud, become the sky, vast, peaceful, and unchanged. This shift lets you observe emotions without being swept away. In the space between stimulus and response lies your power to choose. Mindfulness and meditation help you train this skill, building resilience and acceptance. It's not a quick fix, but a lifelong practice of walking through life with awareness. Each conscious breath brings you closer to inner peace. Meet Maya. Successful on the outside, but living with constant low-grade stress. Her mind was like dry grass, ready to ignite at the smallest spark. That spark came as a blunt email from her boss, triggering a wave of self-doubt. The email wasn't the real problem, it was the match that lit months of accumulated tension. Most of us know this feeling. The trigger is rarely the true cause. We ignore warning signs until a small event sets off a firestorm of emotion. Our nervous systems stay on high alert, interpreting neutral events as catastrophes. Emotional overwhelm often starts as a slow burn, not a sudden explosion. Once ignited, the fire spreads quickly, consuming our sense of control. The real challenge is managing the dry grass, not just the spark. After the email, Maya's mind spiraled. One thought became a forest of negativity. My boss thinks I'm incompetent, grew into, I'll get fired, everyone knows I failed. Our minds are expert storytellers, turning small triggers into horror stories. Maya wasn't responding to reality, but to a fiction her mind created. The spiral drowned out reason, amplifying anxiety and self-doubt. We forget our strengths and past successes, trapped by a single perceived failure. Emotional overwhelm is a chain reaction. One feeling triggers catastrophic thoughts. The cycle gains momentum, making escape feel impossible. Maya was lost in her story, unable to see a way out. The fire of overwhelm raged on. As Maya's thoughts spiraled, her body followed. Tight chest, racing heart, trembling hands. The boundary between mind and body vanished. She was consumed by emotion. Attempts to suppress her feelings only made them stronger. Self-judgment added shame to her anxiety and anger. In this state, we lose all sense of control, becoming our emotions, not just feeling them. The outside world fades. Pain becomes our entire reality. Logical thinking shuts down. Survival instincts take over. Maya wanted to run or lash out, but felt trapped. She was at the mercy of the storm, a ship without a captain. Emotional mastery is learning to reclaim the helm, even in the roughest seas. After the storm passed, Maya didn't send the angry email. She simply sat there until the emotional wave began to recede, leaving her feeling hollowed out and deeply ashamed. The adrenaline faded, replaced by fatigue. The world slowly came back into focus, but everything felt muted and gray. Maya felt a deep sense of embarrassment, even though no one else knew what had just happened inside her. She could see that her reaction had been disproportionate to the event. The echoes of the storm lingered long after the winds had died down. This one small trigger had cast a long shadow over her life. When we lose control of our emotions, we often think of it as a private battle. But our inner state radiates outward, touching everyone in our lives, like ripples spreading from a stone. Think back to Maya. After her emotional storm at work, she wasn't the same. The exhaustion created an invisible wall between her and her partner. The storm was now beginning to rock the boat of her most important relationship. This is the cost of unmanaged emotions, the damage to our relationships. Our sadness makes us withdraw from the very people who want to support us. The connection we treasure most begins to fray, strained by the constant tension of our inner state. Trust erodes, not because of a single great betrayal, but because of 1,000 small reactions. We don't see that our own inner chaos is the source of the problem. The cost of unmanaged emotions extends far beyond our personal relationships. It deeply impacts our work and ambitions. Let's return to Maya. She is a dedicated and passionate employee. Her desire to do well is what made her boss's email feel so devastating. But her reaction, that intense emotional spiral, didn't help her solve the problem. In fact, it paralyzed her. For the rest of the afternoon, she was completely unproductive. The anxiety and shame drained her of all her creative energy. The task of revising the report, which might have taken an hour with a clear head, now seemed like an insurmountable mountain. This is a pattern that many high achievers experience. We channel our passion and drive into our work, but without emotional management, that passion can easily curdle into chronic stress. Every project becomes a measure of our self-worth. Every piece of feedback becomes a potential threat. We operate from a place of fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. This constant state of high alert is not sustainable. It's like running a car's engine in the red zone for too long. Eventually, the engine will break down. This is the path to burnout, where the very passion that once fueled us becomes the fire that consumes us. The consequences at work are significant. Our decision-making becomes clouded by emotion. Instead of responding to challenges with strategic thinking, we react with defensiveness or panic. Our creativity suffers because a mind consumed by worry has no space left for new ideas to grow. Our ability to collaborate with colleagues is diminished, as our own stress can make us irritable, impatient, and difficult to work with. We might start missing deadlines, making simple mistakes, or avoiding challenging tasks altogether because we no longer have the emotional resilience to handle the pressure. Our career, which we care about so deeply, begins to suffer. Ultimately, the work itself loses its joy. The projects that once excited us now feel like a burden. The career path that once inspired us now feels like a trap. We are going through the motions, driven by duty and fear, rather than purpose and enthusiasm. This is the great irony. The unmanaged emotions that stem from our desire to succeed become the very obstacle that prevents our success and fulfillment. We pay a heavy price for not learning to master our minds. We trade our well-being, our creativity, and our professional growth for a short-term, reactive-driven approach to our work life. The most devastating cost of unmanaged emotions is the silent theft of our own happiness and peace of mind. When our days are defined by emotional storms, there is very little room left for joy, gratitude, or contentment. Our mental energy is consumed by anxiety, anger, or sadness. This is not living, it is merely surviving. She was a prisoner in the jail of her own mind, replaying the past and dreading the future. How many hours of our lives do we lose in this same way? The cost is our very life, moment by precious moment. This constant inner turmoil also erodes our self-esteem, forgetting that they are just patterns, not our true identity. This can lead to a pervasive sense of hopelessness, stealing our vitality, our confidence, and our ability to experience the simple joy of being alive. The key to our cage is already in our own hands. The cost of unmanaged emotions is a profound sense of isolation. It pushes others away and disconnects us from our true selves. We inadvertently build a wall around ourselves that traps us inside. We lose touch with the deeper, calmer part of ourselves. We forget who we are. We become strangers to ourselves, guided by impulses rather than our inner compass. This inner disconnection is a lonely place to be, strengthening the very walls that keep us isolated and unhappy. We miss out on the essence of a meaningful life, never feeling truly safe or at home. The tragic price of living as a servant to our emotions. Recognizing the cost is the first step toward building a new foundation of awareness and inner peace. Maya's story shows us we need a different approach. Fighting, suppressing, or ignoring our feelings doesn't work. We can turn to the wisdom of the Buddha, a psychological system for liberating the mind from suffering. The root of suffering is our reaction, not what happens to us. Buddhist philosophy offers tools to work with these habits of mind. It's a step-by-step guide to inner peace and resilience. Buddhist techniques teach us to drop the hot coals of our reactive thoughts and emotions. This is a universal truth, relevant today more than ever. These practices offer a lifeline, a way to find an anchor in the storm. Stop looking outside for peace and start cultivating it within. Connect with the calm, wise, and compassionate self already there. The first and most fundamental tool in this Buddhist toolkit is mindfulness. We hear this word everywhere today, but its meaning is often misunderstood. Mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind or stopping your thoughts. That's impossible. Your mind is a thought-generating machine. That's its job. Mindfulness is simply the gentle, non-judgmental practice of paying attention to what is happening in the present moment. It is the art of noticing. It's about observing your thoughts, your feelings, and your bodily sensations as they arise, without getting caught up in them, and without criticizing yourself for having them. Let's go back to Maya at her desk, just as she read that triggering email. Imagine if she had practiced mindfulness. As the initial sting of disappointment arose, she would have noticed it. She might have thought, there is a feeling of hurt. She would have noticed her heart rate increasing and a tightness in her chest. She would have noticed the thought, my boss thinks I'm incompetent. But here's the crucial difference. She would have noticed these things as temporary events happening within her, not as the ultimate truth about her. She would see them as clouds passing through the sky of her awareness. This practice creates a small but powerful gap. It's a space between the stimulus, the email, and her reaction. In that space, she has a choice. Without mindfulness, the thought I'm incompetent immediately triggers a spiral of anxiety. With mindfulness, she can observe that thought and ask, is this thought helpful? Is it actually true? She can notice the feeling of anxiety without becoming the anxiety. She is no longer drowning in the wave, she is learning to surf it. She is shifting from being a character lost in the drama to being the calm, curious audience watching the play unfold. Mindfulness is a skill you can cultivate anytime, anywhere. You can practice it by paying full attention to the taste of your morning coffee, the feeling of warm water on your hands as you wash dishes, or the sensation of your feet on the ground as you walk. Each time you bring your attention back to the present moment, you are strengthening your noticing muscle. You are training your mind to be less reactive and more present. It is the foundation upon which all other forms of emotional mastery are built, turning every moment of your life into an opportunity to find peace. Meditation is the formal training session for mindfulness. It's the practice of intentionally setting aside time to sit still and cultivate calm awareness. It's creating a pause in the relentless momentum of your life. One of the simplest and most powerful forms of meditation is focusing on the breath. Bring your full attention to the physical sensation of your breath. Your mind will wander. Notice thoughts gently, without judgment, and guide your attention back to your breath. Every time you guide your attention back, you are performing a mental push-up, strengthening your brain. This rewires your brain, weakening the habit of being carried away by thoughts. It strengthens the habit of being the calm observer. It's taking back control of your own mind. The third powerful concept from Buddhist psychology is detachment, or non-attachment. Detachment does not mean becoming a cold, uncaring robot, or stop loving people or stop having ambitions. It means letting go of your rigid grip on outcomes. It is the wisdom of understanding that you can give your absolute best effort while simultaneously releasing your desperate need for it to turn out in one specific way. It is finding peace in the process, not just in the result. Practicing detachment is about loosening your grip. It's like holding a small bird in your hand. If you clutch it too tightly, you will crush it. If you open your hand completely, it will fly away. Detachment is holding the bird with a gentle, open palm, allowing it to be there without trying to possess or control it. Now that we understand mindfulness, meditation, and detachment, how do we put them into practice when an emotional storm is actually happening? When you feel that familiar wave of anxiety, anger, or sadness beginning to rise, you need a simple, memorable technique to guide you through the moment. It's called RAIN, an acronym that gives you 4 clear steps to follow. RAIN stands for Recognize, Allow, Investigate, and Nurture. Recognize is the moment of mindfulness. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. The first flush of anger appears. You just mentally whisper, "Anger is here." The second step is allow, giving the feeling permission to be there. You just let it be. The third step is investigate. What does this anger actually feel like in my body? Is it a heat in my chest? Anxiety is one of the most common storms we face. It's often fueled by a harsh inner critic, that voice in our head that tells us we're not good enough, that we're going to fail, that something terrible is about to happen. This voice creates constant low-grade fear that can spiral into full-blown panic. Using the RAIN method, we can work with this anxiety instead of being controlled by it. Imagine you have a big presentation coming up, and anxiety starts whispering its fearful stories. The first step is to recognize it. You simply say to yourself, anxiety is here, or the inner critic is speaking. Next, you allow the feeling to be present. This is hard because anxiety feels uncomfortable. Your instinct is to distract yourself or argue with the anxious thoughts. But for a moment, just try to let it be. You can say, "It's okay to feel anxious. This feeling is allowed to be here." You're not agreeing with the anxious thoughts. You're simply allowing the sensation to exist without resistance. This act of allowing takes away the fuel for the secondary panic we often feel, the panic about being anxious. You soften around the edges of the feeling, giving it space. Now you gently investigate. Turn your attention inward and ask, what does this anxiety feel like right now? Maybe you notice a fluttering in your stomach, a tightness in your throat, or shallow breathing. You're not trying to fix these sensations, just notice them with neutral curiosity, like a scientist observing a phenomenon. You might also notice the specific thoughts the inner critic is spinning. "I'm going to forget my words. Everyone will think I'm a fraud." You observe these thoughts as just thoughts, mental events passing through your mind, not as absolute truths. This helps you unfuse from them and see them more objectively. The final step is N, nurture. This is where self-compassion comes in. After recognizing, allowing, and investigating, you offer yourself a gesture of kindness. You might place a hand over your heart and silently say something you would say to a dear friend. Words like, "This is hard, but you'll be okay," or "It's natural to feel this way." You are actively soothing your nervous system, offering yourself comfort and reassurance that the inner critic denies you. This transforms the entire experience from self-attack to self-care. Anger is a powerful, fiery emotion that can feel like a wildfire, burning through our reason. The challenge is to metabolize this intense energy without causing harm. Let's use RAIN. Imagine a colleague takes credit for your work. First, recognize the anger. Second, allow it. Give the raw energy space to exist within you. Next, investigate the anger with mindful curiosity. Finally, nurture yourself. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? This self-compassion soothes the wound and cools the flames of anger. Sadness can feel like a deep, cold ocean. When we feel sad, our tendency is often to either push it away or to completely collapse into it. Buddhist practice offers a middle path, to hold our sadness with tenderness and compassion, allowing it to be present without letting it drown us. When a wave of sadness comes, the first step is to recognize its presence. Sadness is here. I am feeling sorrow. The second step is to allow the sadness to be. Find a quiet place, sit down, and just let the feeling be there. You are simply creating a safe container for your own heart to feel what it feels. The final and most healing step is to nurture. Sadness is a call for comfort. You can respond to this call with deep self-compassion. You are tending to your own sorrow as you would for a beloved child. We began by imagining ourselves as a ship tossed on a stormy sea, at the mercy of our emotions. We saw how a single trigger can spark anxiety that spirals out of control, leaving us exhausted. But we discovered another way, turning to Buddhist psychology as a practical guide. The source of suffering is our reaction to the storm, not the storm itself. The key is learning to navigate with grace, using mindfulness and meditation. We use the RAIN method to recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture our emotions. You are not the storm, you are the sky. You have the power to choose your response. This ability is your greatest superpower, transforming challenges into growth and triggers into peace. Understanding these ideas is a wonderful first step. but the real transformation happens when you put them into practice. This journey of mastering your mind is a daily practice, a lifelong commitment to yourself. So I invite you today to take the first small step. Start simply. Choose one thing. Choose one small, manageable action and begin today. Remember to be patient and compassionate with yourself. This is not a failure. It is part of the process. Simply begin again. The journey to inner peace is the most important journey you will ever take. It is here now within you. It is in your next breath. It is in your next choice. Take that breath. Make that choice. Begin your practice today.